Hey guys, welcome to a brand new mixing tutorial. Today we're taking a look at my tones on this cover of Kind by PLINI. You know what the song sounds like. I'm very happy with these guitar tones. Let's get into it. So as usual, I'll turn off these Master Bus plugins and explain them at the end, because that's when I put them on when mixing, is at the end. All right, this drum sound is a drum sound that you already know, and I built it for the, I don't remember what cover this was, but it's this one with Invasion. What cover was this? Embarrassing myself right now on camera for Patreon, but that's okay. It's the Thornhill Nurture one. Yes. So you're gonna go to Thornhill Nurture on the Patreon search bar, and if you watch that mixing tutorial, you get the full rundown on this drum sound. I know a lot of you have already watched it, so I can save you the time. If you want to see the drum sound, you can go there. Let's check out this bass tone. The original by Simon is one of my favorite bass tones, for real. Very tasteful, very distorted. I've gone for something similar on the ending part, and I've just gone for a clean tone here at the beginning. So this is my Marcus Miller. Sounds like this. Finger playing, not the best finger playing, and not the oldest strings in the world. I am using this amp model by Amplitude, which is an Ampeg SVX, and I think I literally just loaded it up and turned up the treble. Instant real bass tone that helps shape the DI. After that, since my finger playing is absolute shit, we're gonna compress it, even if it wasn't, but since it is, we're gonna compress it a little bit to make sure everything is nice and consistent. And I'm gonna do with Arouser, my new favorite compressor. We're looking at about a 4:1 ratio, because this is a little bit softer than the distressors that it emulates in real life. We're going for a fast attack because I don't want the finger to poke through, and a fast release so that it's very consistent. Let's see how much gain reduction. Pretty heavy, about 6 decibels all the time. This is going to give us some aggression out of the finger playing. That's literally the bass tone. There's an EQ on the bus that gets rid of some boominess at 200. And at the end, I add a distortion effect. So I use Saturn by FabFilter as a pedal before the amplifier. So my DI is going to be sounding something like this. This is a very aggressive amp style distortion, only in the mid-range between 600 Hz and a 2.2K. Notice that I distort it, but I also turn it down, because if I didn't, it would be way too aggressive. Going into the amp, it sounds like a proper distortion pedal. Awesome. Moving on to rhythms. Oh, I actually thought this was Archetype PLINI, but funny enough, I never took off the tone hub. So this is STL tone hub. You guys know this is my favorite. And I'm going for the Howard Benson pack, since I didn't want the most metal sound of all. And these are done with a few classical guitars, so I know I could get something like that. This is based on a Marshall tremolo, and you can hear that Marshall fizziness without much gain, actually. And apparently my lazy ass did nothing else to the tone, which isn't usual, but I'm still getting used to the process here in this new room, so I'll be forgetting some stuff now and then. Here's one motherfucking thing I'm not forgetting, is that this new room has a grounding issue in the electricity for now. I need to call the electrician, and yep, this is what it sounds like. You guys will be able to hear it loud and clear. It's a fucking bitch. So I take it out of the DI before it hits the amp. That's why the guitars may sound a bit dull, but at least they don't have that spike. Cleans is just the DI. The treatment here is compression, so that they're consistent and they pop through a little bit. Maximum 4 dB of gain reduction. A little bit of reverb, put them in a room. Very short reverbs on this mix because I don't want it to sound very big. This mix sounds very cozy, sounds like home, sounds like you're in a basement. So 1 second, 25% mix. And of course, controlling low end. There's just rumble beneath this. This is a bit boomy, and this is to make it shine through a little bit more on the 3K area. Very simple stuff. This lead is very important to the song. This is where you get to archetype PLINI, which is, well, imagine why I'm using it, right? Simon Grove, who makes the song, has good presets on this. I started with the high gain lead one, immediately very good vibe. Turned down the gain a little bit, and I went straight to the pedals to make sure the reverb and delay were right. So it's all about getting the correct wetness. This is a very wet lead, so I'm about 50%, which is basically as high as you should go. And yep, delay should be stereo. And these are basically the more important settings. The feedback and space-time can be of your own taste, but that's what I did. And of course, low end, that needs to be controlled. And some harshness in the 4K area, because fuck 4K. Then it's all about the leads, which are the vocal element of the song. Started with the same preset, but obviously turned the gain almost all the way down, and the bright switch as well is off. And the pedals are just, instead of being 50%, turned them at about 25%. And that's how I got that tone. What is this shaping? Should be very subtle. Yep, the most important part of this one is the 800 boost, because it's what's gonna give me the vocal character, because this is basically the vocal lead line of the song, and this sounds like that vocal frequency. It's subtle, but it helps. And then the high gain boss at the end is literally just the high gain preset. I think there's no changes. There should be barely any changes. That's what it looks like. Maybe that's not what it looks like. Maybe the gain is turned a little bit down, but there's no post-processing on it. These plugins actually do sound pretty good out of the box. Yeah, it turns out Simon does a little EQ here. That explains why I didn't feel the need to cut the subs or the super highs. Very cool. I finally understand why people really like these plugins. Cool. Now we gotta move into post-production, which is the most fun part of this song. Addictive Keys Studio Grand, default settings for this piano, doubling the intro, and yeah, making it softer, so taking off a load of high end. Making it match the guitars. And there's a little choir supporting a lot of parts. Again, straight out of Expand, female acquire. If you have Pro Tools, you have this for free. So absolutely go use it. The best thing that it does is these swells, which I have with volume automation. Very cool trick for impact, mimicking the original. Free Mellotron plugin for the interlude. This Nanotron thing sounded pretty nice. We made it softer for sure. Yep. Honestly, not that it needed it. Can delete that. Oh no, I have it for volume control because the plugin is so bad that it doesn't have a volume knob. So I turned it down here by 18 dB. That's the main thing the EQ is actually doing. And of course, there's a little bit of tremolo on it with the Vibro Low pedal on Waves GTR. There's way better options for tremolo. Don't use this. It's just that I am stubborn and stupid. Marimba is the hero of this song. Making this shit sound like a Disney movie. That's the marimba straight out of Expand again. Got the MIDI from my Guitar Pro tab, dropped it in. Taking off some of the attacks, so that's a low pass at about 8K. Makes it not sound like the iPhone ringtone. A little bit of reverb, 2 seconds, 50% mix, just puts it in a room. Actually pretty intense at 50%. Yep. Reverb added a little bit of boominess in these frequencies. And that's the marimba. There's a version of the marimba at the end that's basically the same, it just has less reverb. Is it? Yeah, instead of the reverb being 2 seconds, it's about 1 second. So it's a little bit cleaner for the outro part. Very cool production decision here. A reverse cymbal, so instead of being the usual reverse cymbal that goes very fast, this one is slowed down by a lot. This is almost 5 times. It's gonna sound something like that. An EQ doing nothing, classical joint there. Sounds very, very cool. And of course, your usual big snare. There's only one of it in this cover, but it's worth it. Literally that. No effects at all. Let's discuss the master bus. It's my usual 5 master bus plugins that you guys know and love. First thing is Golfos. This guy is a magic EQ that when you put on your master bus or guitar bus or bass bus, it tries to give it a curve that the human ear likes to hear. It usually means balancing the low end between kick and bass and giving it a bunch of brightness that sometimes sound wrong, but in my mixes usually sounds good. You can see it try to compensate a dark mix that has no cymbals here. And you can see it let the low end breathe when the bass is not playing. It's basically a dynamic EQ for your whole mix, and I'm a fan of it. Mix compression, you know what I like to do with this one? If the drums hit this compressor, the rest of the mix gains a lot of energy because it makes your drums make everything quieter, which is a very nice pumping feeling. Only aiming for about 1 to 2 decibels of gain reduction here as usual. On this mix, it's more like 1, and the saturation options make the mix a little bit thicker. This song deserves it. Sometimes I turn these off, but because it's metal mixes, but here it's a very soft mix that needs that little low end boost from the saturation. This guy is basically Golfos, but instead of being an EQ, it's a compressor. You know, I like to run my mix through the multiband compressor because I get individual control of different frequency parts of my mix. I think I have so many plugins on here that this won't actually run. Yeah, like I was afraid the mix is cropping out, but that's okay. By now, you guys should know what this is doing. I usually like to compress the mid-range band a little bit to tame the guitars in the master instead of turning them down. And control the low end a bit. So you could hear there for a moment, the kick gets a little ducked. I'll turn it off for the sake of the CPU. I think it's neural stuff that's actually fucking it up because I have a lot of instances of it. I've always seen kids complain on the forums that these take a lot of CPU. That might be true. That might be true. And the tape guy, very light. As usual, on the master bus, you don't overdo this. You just want it to add a little bit of thickness. Sometimes I don't do it, but again, this song is very light, so I like what it's doing to my bass and drums. Let's bypass it, take a look. Just a bit of a low end lift. And finally, the limiter, the guy that makes everything loud. You know what I like to do? Cut the drums on this. If the kick and snare are being cut nicely, I know I'm ready to go with loudness. I'll only do more if it's a very hardcore mix. Yeah guys, that's the mixing tutorial for today. Thank you so much for watching, supporting. Leave any questions down below and watch all the other mixing tutorials because your Patreon support covers access to all of them. So take care.